Mass Effect Andromeda is considered one of the worst games in franchise history, and it's not even close. Look, a lot of people will agree with that statement, but I'm here saying, what if we were wrong? Yes, the shaky launch is something we need to talk about, but they did some things so great that we should want it in the next Mass Effect. So, what I'm going to do is talk about the good, bad, and ugly about Mass Effect to see if it deserves a second chance. And if you're new, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe and join the crew. Let's get into it. So to kick things off, we got to go back to 2017, right before the game launched. Look, we came out the hype Mass Effect 3, which the game was amazing. About 90% of it. That last end was kind of shaky. But they did add patches and DLC that make that one of the strongest entries in the series. So, needless to say, everybody was excited for Mass Effect Andromeda. As until the game actually came out, because my God, it was terrible, to be honest with you. Look, they had so many game-breaking bugs where you fell into the world and just could not play it. And then the facial animations was trash. Look, you got more expression out of rocks than you did these characters. And it's sad because we don't expect this from, let alone Mass Effect, but Bioware itself. They're known for some great story narrative games, and some of that is the facial animations. Like, this is just unacceptable. And this showed because it kind of got review bombed really early on and killed any type of momentum that had for the game, so much so that the DLC and updates they had planned for it never came to fruition. So again, the game is all considered dead. But honestly, we kind of focus on the wrong thing, in my opinion. Yes, they had all those issues, but they did some things that's really well, and I want to see in other Mass Effects. Main importantly, is the combat. The combat alone is fantastic. Look, in Mass Effect 1 through 3, it's more like a horizontal combat. Like, you literally going from cover to cover, you're just shooting straight across. No, not really any verticality, if that's a word. And when fighting, like, you got stairs and ladders, but that's slow. With Mass Effect Andromeda, it gave us a jump button. Man, a jump button is so powerful. Look, you can jump on top of boxes, jump even on the building and shoot down on your enemy. And then your enemies can do the same thing, which is so cool. It gave us another layer to combat, but have more freedom to explore a different combat paths and flanks that destroy enemies. Also, they gave us a hover, which honestly was one of the best things because it allowed me to jump up over some cover and shoot the enemies down from the top, which is fantastic. Not to mention, they added some dodges. Again, we're just moving around the battlefield. We're not stuck behind cover. We can use it to our advantage, which is something I really wanted in the older Mass Effect. This really put the action in action RPG, in my opinion. Now, that it doesn't stop there because it allowed us to have freedom of choice with the skills. And I'm talking about not being locked to a certain class. Look, with the original trilogies, you had to pick one class and you were stuck with that one class throughout your whole playthrough, which again was fine at the time, but again, it made us limited. Yes, I might have wanted to start as biotic, but maybe I want to use more shotguns and grenades. Or what if I picked a soldier and I wanted to have a combat drone? Like, again, you would have to start a whole new playthrough to get that experience. With Mass Effect Andromeda, you can pick and choose what skills you want to invest in, which is really cool. If I want to have a flamethrower with a biotic shield that chuck grenades, I could do that. Or if I wanted to have a concussion shot with a throw biotic spell or with a combat drone, you had that ability. It gave you a great mix and match, let you make your character the way you wanted it, which is really great. I just wish they extended that to our companions, but again, this is something they wanted to try out first, and I understand that. It's just something I wish will be in the next Mass Effect whenever that comes out. So not only did they give us the jump and skills freedom, they gave us a little bit bigger world to explore, which again, I know some of the issues came from the buggy world, but just the large maps was a breath of fresh air, in my opinion. With Mass Effect, a lot of the missions was single focus, like you go to the area one time, you go through it, and that's it, which helps push the story along the way you want to. And that's why it's a lot smoother and more missions was a little bit more impactful, which again, it's fine and everything, but I really like the open space of Mass Effect. Now, if we don't need to have something as big as like that in the next one, but maybe combine the two, like maybe have our missions have multiple paths. Something like that would be really cool. And it makes it really feed into that RPG element. So yeah, I had to give Mass Effect Andromeda its flowers. Gameplay wise, it's a solid game. But the real issues with it is the plot. The plot just seemed like it's copy and paste. Look, riddle me this if you ever heard this before. An alien species kidnap other species to turn those species into themselves and then use them to attack. I really thought I was fighting the Collectors and Reapers again, to be honest. But no, they're called the Cat. And honestly, I get it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But I think you need to change that. I don't want to see another alien race in the future trying to take more people and turn them into themselves. Like, there's so many different avenues you could do with it. Pick another plot, please. Also, the companions. Oh my goodness, man. The companions level down. There's not one companion that I say, oh, that was my favorite one in Mass Effect Andromeda. And that's saying something from a Mass Effect game. Look, if I'm being completely honest with you, all those companions are maybe a step above Jacob. And you know how hated Jacob is. Like, there was no one moment I was like, oh, this is really cool. There's none. And honestly, I can name several any other Mass Effect game. So that's something they definitely need to improve from. So if you like Mass Effect and you haven't really given this a shot, I recommend buying it. I mean, it's only $7, $10. It's worth it. The gameplay wise, it's fun. It allows you to make new characters. Some of the worlds look very beautiful, minus the bugs and glitches, but it's a solid, 20-40 hour investment in game wise. It's a fun game. The plot, it just wasn't the best. And when you compare it to other Mass Effects, you can clearly see it's definitely the weakest chain in the link. But I do recommend giving a second chance. What I want to know is, do you agree with me? Does Mass Effect Andromeda deserve a second chance, or should we just keep it in the bin? If you made it to here, you might as well hit subscribe because you're part of the family now. YouTube said you might like this next video. Let's see if they're right.